What's up everyone, and welcome back to another addicted fishing tutorial. Today we're talking about one of the most effective ways to catch trout anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world, and that is with the Kastmaster. So if you guys want to learn more about how to use this extremely effective lure, stick around. Today is going to be very educational and fun. Oh hey, there you are. Thanks so much for stopping by. You know, when you live life on the go like we do here at Addicted, you need a well-balanced meal in your belly at the end of the night. That's why I'm thankful for things in this world like Factor meals. Now let's have a look inside. Wow. Ooh, tasty. Factor is the easiest and best way to get chef-prepared meals on the table in 2 minutes or less, so that you can get back to doing what you love this spring. This box comes loaded with variety. In this initial box, you get Chipotle rub pork chop, Santa Fe shredded chicken and queso, Italian buttered chicken, chicken piccata, spicy poblano beef bowl, and sun-dried tomato chicken.
Let me get one of those.
Another surprise item is the wellness shots. Let's take a look. In here, we have lemon, apple, ginger, honey, turmeric, black pepper, apple, ginger, lemon, cayenne, spinach, kale, celery, lemon, and E3 Live. Very good for your gut and very good for your health. Factor meals eliminate the hassle of having to prep, cook, or even clean up. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. Ooh, fourth meal. Let's give her a try. Very tender pork chop, cabbage, little veggies, an all-around outdoorsman meal, to say the least. Now, we want to thank Factor 75 for sponsoring this video, and because they're bringing you guys a special deal. Head to factor75.com right now, or click the link below in this description, and use code AddictedFishing50 to get your first 50% off your original purchase. And it doesn't stop there. After the 50%, you even get 20% off your second purchase. Again, that's factor75.com. Enter the code AddictedFishing50 to get your 50% off your first purchase, plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is still active. That is delicious. We want to thank Factor so much for sponsoring this video here today, you guys. Remember, go back, find the link in the description, and get this amazing deal. And if you're a striving business out there that wants to get in some of our content, shoot us an order at the email down below here in the link. We'd love to help you out. You guys all stay fishy. Here's the video. So right here in front of me, I have absolutely everything one would need to go out and use this Kastmaster setup. I have my rod, my reel, I have a pair of scissors, I have a few different sizes of the Kastmasters, and then I have the line that I'm gonna use. The nice part about fishing a Kastmaster or any sort of lure setup when you're going trout fishing is it's a very simple and easy thing to learn, and it's a simple and easy thing to pack when you're going out to go fishing. It's a small investment, and it's a lot of fun, and not to mention effective. So what I have here today, one of our very proud sponsors is Okuma Fishing, and so we got an Okuma ultralight rod. This is an Okuma Solilo. This thing's length is 7.5 feet long. Line rating is 4 to 10 pound test. And this seems to be the perfect setup for me when I'm fishing these Kastmasters. One, because it is a pretty strong rod. You can land a bigger fish with it. It also lets you fight those littler fish and still have a good time. Now, as you can tell on this reel, I have a braided line on here, a very high vis braided line, and that is our Addicted Enforcer braid made by Tough Line. This is in the 10-pound variety. I like to use the 10-pound braided line variety because it goes out of your guides very smooth, and it comes off the reel nicely, and it doesn't bind up and get nasty knots in it while you're trying to cast a long ways, because it's not just a clever name, Kastmaster. You can cast these things a country mile. So, on the end of my line, I have a 10-pound fluorocarbon line attached with a blood knot. What I've added to the end of this here is a fluorocarbon bumper. And this is a little bit more of an advanced setup. If you guys want to do something a little more simple, I'll show you how to do that in just a second. But I've used a blood knot to attach my braided line to my fluorocarbon line. This is a 10-pound fluorocarbon line. I run that about 10 feet down to the end of my line. So now we've made it through the rod setup. This is mainly why I suggest this method to so many people who are just learning how to fish, because it is so simple. We have our rod, we have our reel, we have our line, and now we go straight to our lure. Kastmasters come in all sizes, whether it be all the way down to like a 1/4 ounce, clear up to almost a 2 ounce, which we wouldn't necessarily use for the style of rainbow trout that we're gonna be fishing for today. But what I have here in front of me is a perfect selection for colors and sizes that you're gonna wanna choose when you do go out to hit the lake or any sort of body of water to find a fish with these Kastmasters. The way I'm gonna wanna choose the size of my Kastmaster, depending on what style of water that I'm using, really goes on the depth. If I'm fishing a very deep lake, I'm gonna want something bigger, up into the 1/2 ounce or even down into about the 1/4 ounce. If I want to go very deep water, if I'm fishing something that's 20, 30, or 40 feet deep, I'm going to go all the way up into the 3/4 and those bigger sized lures that I have available to me. Normally, if I'm fishing for any sort of rainbow trout in your typical stocked lake, most commonly those spots aren't going to be more than about 10 to 15 feet deep, especially if it's a man-made lake. So I'm going to go with my lightest option possible. And what I have here in front of me is this little guy right here. This is the 3/8 ounce, a little bit of a green rainbow trout look. That's what we're going with today. The way I'm going to attach my line is very simple. I'm not going to use any sort of swivel setup because I want this lure to be able to work properly against the tension of my line. So I'm just going to put my line through the little split ring that's available to me here. I'm going to take my tag end, I'm going to wrap it around my main line 7 times. Put it back through the hole I created. Just like so. Moisten your line and pull it tight. I like to be very adamant about cutting my tag ends because at times these trout can tend to be very, very spooky. And that means they're gonna see your line, they're gonna see the lure, and they're gonna swim away from it rather than chasing it and eating it. So with all that being said, let's put a couple of these Kastmasters in our pockets, head to the first body of water, and let's show you how to fish it. So the first body of water we're going to cover when fishing with a Kastmaster from the bank is in a lake. We're going to start today by showing you the technique, how to cast, and actually some very useful techniques and knowledge on how to make this lure move around sporadically to where it'll actually attract these fish a little bit better. So what I have behind me here is a beautiful lake. This thing has just recently been stocked with trout. I've actually checked the local stocking reports, and that's why I'm here today. I actually chose the lake that had the best chance of getting fish in, the one that had been most recently stocked. So I have my setup here. We've already talked about it all. Now it's time to learn how to cast. So really, to me, it's a 3-step process on how to use a fishing reel. If you've never done it before, what I like to do is to make sure the round part of the spool is pointing towards the shaft of the rod. What that's gonna do for me is make it easy for me to reach over and grab that with my index finger as I hold the rod in between my pinky finger and my ring finger, and I have my finger and my index finger gently placed on that line. And this is when I'm gonna take the bail, this is what we call the bail, and I'm gonna open that all the way, which gives me a free flow of line anytime I take my finger off of that. So the way we're gonna start, we're gonna have our line about 1.5 to 2 feet out of the rod tip. I'm gonna make sure the round part of the spool is pointing towards me, hold that with my index finger, open that bail. Next step is to put the rod tip behind you. What I like to make sure to do is look behind you, make sure that you have a clear path and you're not going to be snagging anyone or anything, and then leave that rod tip there and look back out to where you want to cast. Identify the area, lock your eyes on it, and as you go forward 3/4 of the way through your cast, you're going to let go with your index finger and let her fly. The beauty of the Kastmaster especially is the fact that it is so heavy and it flies so far, even for being such a small. I just got hit on the fall. Got one. Got one. Oh, yep, I got one. Got one on the fall. Oh no. Lost him. Lost him. Dang it. Well, there you go. That's how fast and easy these things can catch fish. Okay, now that the casting's covered, let's do that again. One thing I like to tell people is to start with some sort of pattern to where you're gonna cast. Instead of just randomly casting out into the lake, identify where you're seeing fish roll, where you see the deepest part of the lakes, or where you see any structure or ledges. That's gonna help you identify an area that those fish can sit in sort of a pursuit angle where they're gonna be swimming around and eating the bait or the natural things that they might be eating in that lake. So as I'm looking here, I'm gonna start on a clockwise rotation. I'm gonna start from the left, and with each cast, I'm gonna cast about 15 to 20 yards in a gap each time I cast across here until I'm casting all the way back towards the other end of the dock here. That can be very, very effective on being able to cover water and find out where the fish are, and then once you target those fish in those areas, you can keep casting to the area where you actually found those fish. What I'll do after I've created that full circumference motion around where I'm fishing, I'm gonna move to a distance away that I can't cast to and do the same thing over again and effectively cover my way all across the bank. So let's catch one. Cast number 2, I'm gonna let that thing sink all the way to the bottom. The way I'm gonna be able to detect bottom is by holding tight to my line and watching the belly that is in my line until it goes slack. And thump, there it is. My line went slack. I'm gonna quickly reel up some of the slack that's out there, keep my rod tip pointed right at my lure, and just slowly reel that thing back in. This is just one way that you can retrieve the Kastmaster. Got him. Yep, I got one. I got one. It's a nice one too. Here, wanna reel it in?
It's okay.
Okay, okay, I think you will too. First fish of the day, 3rd cast. Not bad. Oh, look at him go. Look at him go. I got one. It's like my 4th cast too. Look at that. Beautiful rainbow trout. Yep, I'm gonna let this one go. There he is, everyone. Kastmaster right in the side of the mouth. Beautiful rainbow on the 3rd cast of the day. And that was just on my first technique on how I retrieved this. That was just a nice slow retrieve. Great sporadic action from that lure. And we got our first one of the day. Ooh, another one just rolled. Another one just rolled out there. No, I just saw one move out there. Yeah, we saw him just jump. Let's see if we can get to him. No, it just looks like a fish. That's the funny part, huh? Ooh, you're a vegetarian. No, I'm pretty good at it. Sometimes I'm not as good, but I'm feeling pretty lucky today.
Some guy asked me, do you know what kind is like yours? And I was like, no, and then they just started laughing.
Don't listen to them. They're just jealous. I think mine's just a little bit heavier than yours. Here, I'll tie one here. When you reel that back in, I'll tie one on for you. I'll tie on one of these lures.
So the heavier, the farther?
Uh-huh. The heavier it is, the farther you can throw it. This one's a 3/8 of an ounce. Uh-huh. So it's pretty heavy. It's actually pretty big for a trout. Well, here, let me put one on for you. Okay, I'm gonna give you a gold one because you're the golden child. Golden child. The golden fisher lady.
Why is there so much seaweed?
It's a lake. This stuff just grows like lettuce out there. Uh-huh. Here, let's put this on there. Go ahead and put a little bit of line out. Yep, and then we're gonna take this bad boy. We'll save your stuff because we don't want to lose that. Yep, you can lock it now. Okay, let's put that in a safe place so it doesn't fall through the dock. And I'm gonna tie this one on for you. And what you're gonna wanna do with this one when you cast out there like that, you're not gonna wanna let it sink too deep. If it gets too close to the bottom and you start to reel, you're gonna either snag or you're gonna get all that seaweed again. So let it fall for like 3 seconds and then start reeling.
That's how you catch fish?
Yep, that's how you catch fish. This is called power bait. So these are little power eggs, everyone. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this power egg and we're gonna put it right on the hook. And that's gonna actually, as you start to reel, it's gonna be swinging around and it'll add a little bit of scent behind the lure so that these things will even wanna eat it more. Oh, wow. Sharp. Okay, here you go. Give it a shot. Here you go. Oh, yeah, they're rolling right there. See if you can cast over to them. Nice one. Yep. Now just start reeling it right away. Nice and slow.
How slow do you want it?
Just about that fast. You see how your line's making that movement? That means that that thing's wiggling around, and that's what we want. We want it wiggling around nice and slow. Perfect. I'm gonna let mine sink a little bit further. And I'm gonna start just working it back, giving it a little bit of motion. So sometimes you can reel 2 or 3 times and then let it fall. And then you reel 2 or 3 times and then you let it fall. Because as that thing starts to fall, that motion of it falling and dying will sometimes make those fish wanna bite.
Oh, caught one.
We're about to. You're gonna get one first though. You got the power bait on.
You want one?
Oh, it's okay, I'll let you have the I want you to have the upper advantage right now. I want you to get one. Yep, I like to go overhand. Yep, like that. Nice one. That was a bomber. That was a bomber. That one's getting a fish for sure. Let it sink for about 3 seconds and then start reeling.
Has your dog ever bit someone?
No, not really. He gets defensive of his fishing spots. That's what he was doing with you. That you're acting worried. And sometimes they just wanna, no, I'm just getting the seaweed off. Can be, but I think you're gonna be okay. Oh, the fish? Sometimes. They use things that look natural. So they use like fake bugs. Right there where that one splash was. See that? You landed. Fly fishing. I don't know. It's just springtime. The water's clean. Feels like it, huh? And they open the back of the truck with it's a big water truck, and all the fish are in the water in the truck. Probably should have brought my boat today. No, they do, but but just to help out so that people could keep them. Oh, I got one. Oh, I had one. He let it go. He'll come back for it though. Sometimes after you get that bite, everybody, you'll use your rod tip, give that thing a little sporadic movement, like the fish that fish had just hit and is wounded. It starts to flutter back and forth, and that fish will come back and eat it a second time. Okay, we'll see you later. Okay, so now that I've gotten a couple bites on this color, what I'm gonna do to actually up my odds again is switch it up a little bit. I know there's fish out there, I know they're biting, and I will say that fish tend to get used to a certain color or even a certain size. So a situation like this where I'm stuck in one spot, I'm on the end of the dock, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this lure off, I'm just gonna change a different color, and I'm gonna cast it back out there and see if it works. Let's go Old Faithful blue and silver. And a little bit smaller. Okay, now we start our clockwise motion once again. Oh, right here at the frickin' dock. See if I can get him again. Oh, he followed it all the way back. You guys saw how I was doing that really sporadic motion again. I was reeling, letting it fall, reeling, letting it fall. Earlier in that cast, I'd actually felt that thing grab that lure and drop it again. So it'll go to show you that making sure to fish that thing all the way back to your rod tip can be super, super important, whether you're on the bank or in the boat. Okay, you guys have seen now that I've changed my lure, I've started the whole process over again. I'm starting from the far left, working my way about 10 to 15 feet difference in cast, all the way over to the right here, going clockwise, and as I'm working my way across, I'm finding different fish in each area. Little flicker, flacker, little wiggle, and then reel. First you whip, and then you space bay. Oh, there he was right there, dang it. All right, now we've worked our way clockwise all the way around. We've hooked a few fish. Let's go find us a new spot. Okay everybody, now we're in a lake setting. This is going to be a completely different attribute to how we're going to use these Kastmasters. The beauty is they work just as effectively, but certain different ways are going to help you catch fish in certain different styles of water. So what we have here now are two different style of rods. One rod that you can use for trolling, especially whether you're in a kayak, whether you're in a main boat or anything else, is a bait casting rod. What I have here is an Okuma black kokanee rod set up with my Kastmaster here. For this rod, I'm gonna go with the orange and silver. Now in this lake, we actually are allowed to use 2 fishing poles. So that being the case, I'm not gonna put the same Kastmaster on or the same size. I'm gonna use one that's a little bit bigger. And that's the beauty of having these bigger Kastmasters. It's not so much that you can cast farther, it's so that when you're fishing them in a situation like this, you're able to get down towards the bottom and fish at 2 different depths while you're trolling through the lake. Let's get set up. Okay, on my other rod, I'm gonna go with the lure that's twice as heavy. So I have the 1/4 ounce one right here. So I'm gonna take the 1/2 ounce that I have here. That way I'm gonna be fishing at least 5 to 6 feet lower than this one here. These things go all the way up, I believe, into 2 ounce. So you can use this to get down to any single depth that you want. Even the 2 ounce ones aren't that big. They're still about as big as a bait fish that a big trout in a lake like this would be eating. So let's get our second one on and let's get trolling. Ooh, I like this one. I'm gonna go with the little rainbow one. Oh, never mind. Okay, I'm gonna tie this one right to the split ring that's on there. Just like that. And we're ready to go. You guys see I have a really, really good action going. That's what we want. We don't want that Kastmaster doing a full 360 circle. We want that thing just going out there and giving up a very hard vibration, because the fish with their lateral line and their senses can feel that. They can see that and they can hear it as it's going through the water. It's making a lot of disturbance. So we already hooked one. Hopefully we get one on the big one. Then it's on to our last technique style. Okay, so here it goes. What I'm gonna do, and I think about what I'm gonna do, and whether you're in a kayak paddling yourself or you're in a boat, you really wanna match the speed of your troll to the action that you're seeing out of your rod tip. What I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna make sure this thing is pretty far behind you. So about 20 yards. I'm gonna give it about another 10 or 15 feet of line, and I'm gonna close that bail. From here, I'm gonna look at my rod tip as it starts to move and make sure, one, that I'm not dragging on the bottom, that rod tip will be dragging really slowly and hard, or two, that my Kastmaster is actually moving. These things have that motion you guys have seen so far from the rod tip and from just the visual of being in the water. And if we're not going fast enough in the lake, then that Kastmaster is not gonna be kicking right. We're not gonna get the appropriate action that we want to attract those fish. So what I'm gonna do to do that, I'm either gonna stick it right in the rod holder and wait and see. Now, I'm not seeing a ton of action in the rods, so I'm gonna go up 1/2 the speed. Or in case you're paddling, paddle a little bit faster. You put your back into it, Jimmy. Okay, there it is. Now, the second rod is the lighter Kastmaster and the bait caster rod. The bait caster rod works very nice for the boat, especially using them on a lake like this. What it does is it allows you to adjust your depth with the rod while you're sitting down in the rod holder. You don't have to take that thing out of the rod holder to turn the reel or to open the reel to give it more line. You can just leave that thing right in the rod holder. You see, and we're fishing. I got him, double. Oh, he's out of the water again. I gotta turn my motor off. Oh God, look at this rod reeled into. Little, it's not even that big. It's not that big, promise. Sweet, Kastmaster for the win. Best lure in the world. Oh, there he is, what a pretty one. What a pretty little trout. Oh, he got me wet. So he did it on both of them too. It goes to show you that having both lures really does help give you an advantage on getting those fish. It gives them two things to look at, because granted this one's deeper, the other one's shallower. It gives them two different lures to find, and this one sure found it. Beautiful little guy. All right, buddy, thanks for playing. Sweet, on to the next technique. Okay, now we are on to our next body of water. Kastmasters, again, are effective in absolutely every style of water that you'll find trout. But as you can only imagine, with moving water, our technique is going to change a lot. Let's step into the water, show you guys how to do it. So depending on what style of water that you're fishing with the Kastmaster, the size of the river, you're going to want to stay with a pretty small one. There shouldn't be any reason to go over about a 1/2 ounce to a 3/4 ounce Kastmaster when you're fishing or any sort of creek or river. The way your technique is going to change drastically in a situation like this is we'll notice that this current is moving downriver and there is a lot of it. So that being the case, I want to make sure to cast down below me. I'm always going to start my cast at about 90 degrees in front of me, using the current to swing this thing across and keep it in the strike zone of the fish. As you can see, even with that first cast, I never once had to reel. Most commonly, I'm going to be able to use the current to counteract the speed of that thing going across. And as you can see it going out there with my rod tip, that thing has a really good action, is moving across the strike zone the entire time. One rule of thumb is I don't ever really want to cast anywhere up above me in the river, because what's going to happen with that moving water is the current's going to carry that stuff down into the rocks. We're going to snag that lure up and we won't have our pretty Kastmaster anymore. So my next step is going to be create a rhythm downriver. What I mean by that is I'm going to make about the same distance cast into this hole every single time. The only thing I'm going to change is where I position myself in the run. So after every cast, I'm going to take 2 big steps downriver. Lastly, one important thing to know as you swing your Kastmaster through a run like this is make sure to keep your rod tip low. If I lift my rod tip up to the surface, you can see that the thing actually comes out of the water. I put my rod tip down and we're fishing. So making sure to keep your rod tip pointed right directly at your Kastmaster the whole time it's flowing through, and keeping it low towards the bottom will keep your thing in the strike zone and in front of those fish the whole time. Okay, now that I've successfully worked this hole from the very top all the way down to the bottom, taking 2 steps after every cast, time to relocate holes and go find some more fish. All right, everyone, that is all the time we have today for Out on the Water. Thank you all so much for joining us here on another addictive fishing tutorial. If you guys have any questions, please drop those questions down in the comments below. We'll try to get them answered. And until next time, everybody, you all stay fishy. We'll see you out there.